Hi there, I wish today's video would be a little bit more exciting considering the fact that we've got an announcement for Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny HD getting a physical release, but unfortunately the reason why it's not exciting is because it is tied to limited run games, which means that this is effectively going to be a physical release of one of my favorite Onimusha games of all time, potentially seeing a price hike later down the line through scalpers and people who just think that the value of this game is worth more than $20 to $30 to about $40 to $50 to $60 to even $100 due to the nature of limited run games and their physical releases. Now, given the fact that this is limited run games and because I'm sounding a little bit negative regarding them, I should point out too that I have ordered games from them before. It's not necessarily that I dislike them as a service, even though there is plenty of evidence showing that they are not a very good service. Their customer service is not that great from what I've been told and from what I've seen, although I've not personally experienced bad customer experience. I'm just not saying that it doesn't not happen. It definitely happens. There's, like I said, plenty of evidence to point to the obvious. And I'm not necessarily going to blame them for the actions of scalpers who are going to try to purchase as many physical copies and try to flip them for triple or quadruple the initial asking price of the physical release of the game. That being said, I am disappointed that Capcom decided to partner up with Limited Run for Onimusha because I was really hoping that they would have waited for Onimusha 3 HD to be released to bundle 2 and 3 together and have that as a physical collection, considering the fact that those two games didn't have the same issues regarding the soundtrack like Onimusha 1 did. And evidently they did not do that, which is really disappointing to see. Instead, they've decided to partner up with Limited Run Games. And again, not necessarily saying that it is the fault of Limited Run Games for the actions of scalpers, at least not entirely. It is pretty disappointing to see that Onimusha 2, again, one of my favorite games of all time, something that you could easily get right now for about $20, at least on eBay, is going to be about $40, if not more than that in the future, because of the fact that scalpers are going to double or triple or even quadruple the price of the game to create artificial demand and artificial scarcity of a game that is otherwise very easy to get a hold of. So I'm quite disappointed that Capcom decided to go with this route, because I was actually going to talk about how they were acknowledging the fact that people want Onimusha 3 HD in the Onimusha Way of the Sword 3rd and 4th trailer breakdown that I'm still working on. And it is quite frustrating to see that now I'm going to have to acknowledge the fact that, in the future at least, that if Onimusha 3 gets a remastered, it's likely going to be a digital release only until they partner up with Limited Run Games to put that game on a physical disc. So I'm quite frustrated to hear about this news, because it means that when Onimusha 3 gets a physical release, that game will have the same problems of it's going to have a slightly higher price than the digital version that's already available on all digital storefronts. And then when scalpers get a hold of the physical copy, it's going to double, triple, or even quadruple in price, if not even more than that, which it's quite frustrating, because I would like to be able to see a proper physical collection of Onimusha 2, Onimusha 3, Tactics, and Dawn of Dreams on one physical disc from Capcom directly, no other third party involved, just Capcom directly releasing a physical disc for you to purchase. That way you don't have to deal with scalpers who are going to artificially increase the price and artificially create scarcity and demand for a game, and other games, I should say, that are very readily available to purchase as of me recording this video. So it is quite disappointing to see that they aren't taking the same page from the Resident Evil Remake HD Remastered by releasing Onimusha 2 digitally initially, but then bundling it with an Onimusha 3 HD Remaster later down the line, or any other Onimusha game for that matter. and instead we will have to rely on limited run games. Now, as I've mentioned before, I do use limited run games, even though I'd rather not use them. I have purchased games in the past from them, and while I haven't personally experienced any wrongdoings in terms of their customer service or anything of the like, I know that the evidence is out there regarding both their customer service and some of their business practices. So I'm not going to really get into that, but if you are interested in hearing about that information, I'll leave some videos down in the description below for you to check out. That being said, as I mentioned, this is quite disappointing because we recently also got information from Capcom themselves that they are acknowledging the fact that fans do want an Onimusha 3 HD remastered. However, their sole focus is on Onimusha Way of the Sword currently, which is quite disappointing to see that, again, this is what's happening with Onimusha 2, which likely means that Onimusha 3 will go through a very similar process. And again, not saying that I don't necessarily use the service, because I have gotten games like the Castlevania collections, the upcoming Fear Effect port, not to be confused with Fear Effect 2's port, which also got announced today. It is quite frustrating to see that I have to rely on the service. I much rather would not have to rely on the service because of how shady the practices are, and because of the fact that even in the name, as it says, all of the editions or all of the games are considered limited. Part of why this is also frustrating for me as well is because of the fact by next year I'm supposed to be moving, and I have no idea if I'll be moving back to the US or to some other country. And that being said, it's like, okay, if I make the order when the pre-orders go live, I might not actually be able to get my physical copy if I make a pre-order off of limited run. So it's quite frustrating to see. I don't want to miss out on a physical edition of one of my favorite games, as I've mentioned before. That's not to say that I really need this physical edition, considering the fact that I already own a physical edition on PS2, and I own 2 digital copies, one on PlayStation 5 and one on Steam. So it's not necessarily that I need it, but as a longtime fan of Onimusha, I want to be able to support my favorite franchise as much as possible, and especially when it comes to a game that is considered to be at least my favorite of the entire series. Although, granted, this is one of the best-selling Onimushas of all time, I want to be able to support, again, my favorite game. And it sucks that I have to see that limited run games is associated with that. Again, I've never had personal issues with limited run, given my experiences, but the evidence is out there. And if you want to check out the videos, then links are in the description below for you to check that information out and judge for yourself based off of the information that is available to you. That being said, on the other hand, I am excited, despite it being disappointing, that there is going to be a physical copy for one of my favorite games that has been remastered recently. So that's nice to see. I'm just hoping that I'm going to be able to get my hands on it before my move. That's my biggest concern right now. I'm hoping that that physical announcement or the physical pre-orders for that game are available early 2026 before my move, so that way by the time I am getting ready to move, I'll get it before I actually leave Poland, which is something that I've been wanting to do for the last couple of years, but I don't really want to get into that for this video. That being said, I'd like to know what you all think of Onimusha 2's physical edition getting announced for limited run games. Are you excited? Are you disappointed like I am? Are you planning on pre-ordering the physical edition, or do you plan on giving in to potential scalper prices, which please don't ever do that, but if you are, maybe explain why you're gonna do that. Anyway, that all being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I know this is kind of more of a gloomy and disappointing video compared to some of my other videos where I'm more excited to talk about gaming news like this. But like I said, it's quite disappointing for me, at least as a longtime Onimusha fan. Like I said, I'd like to know what you all think down in the comment section below. If you liked today's video, feel free to give it a like, share it, maybe even consider subscribing. And for those of you that are waiting for my trailer breakdowns of the third and fourth trailer for Way of the Sword, it is coming. It is about halfway scripted. It's just that priorities are kind of taking up my time at the moment. So it is coming, just I don't know how soon it'll be released. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. Matane.